In the past 2 lectures, we created our first application and learnt about the different ways we can display text within our app. We're now going to move on to displaying custom text within our app, such as our users or our own text we want to enter within the app itself. And to do this, we're going to be using UITextFields. Now, these allow us to simply bring up the keyboard and enter in our own information. So we can enter in anything we like. And then how to use that information that we've added and then display it, or again use it within the application itself. So we're going to jump into our main.storyboard. What I'm going to do is get rid of our third label as we continue off from our previous 2 lectures, as our second label again has the connection called label 2 that we're going to want to use. Now I'll space it out and then just display it a little bit further down, so we can add our UI text field just above underneath our first label. Now I'll space that out there and then center that underneath all of our objects with our label down below. Okay, so what we're going to do now is enter text within our UI text field and then get that text that we're displaying and then place it within our app, such as our second label. Now, to do this, we need to create an action and an outlet for the UI text field. The action, so we can perform and trigger when we press basically the done button on the keyboard or when we finish entering, and an outlet to refer back to the text field so we can get the text that's being displayed within it and use it in any way that we want. Okay, so we're going to bring up the assistant editor, making sure we selected on our files owner, and then once it loads up, we're going to make sure we're going to right click or control click our UI text field here and drag it underneath our 2 labels. Now I simply name it text field as the name of the outlet, so it's easier to understand. And then what we're going to do is also create an action for it. So I'll just space out underneath our first function button of our hello for our hello world application. And again, drag and drop that over underneath there, making sure we select an action as the connection. And this is very important. In the event, it works differently to our button. We're not doing simple primary action triggered. We simply want editing did end. So when the editing of the text field ends, and that means when we finish putting a text in, and then we press the done button, that's when the action gets triggered within a text field. And the action we want to trigger is to display the text into the label. So again, making sure that's editing not end, and I simply name this text field finish, there we go, and connect that in. Okay, so we've done that. We've got the outlet on our label already, so that's perfectly fine. So we can now close our assistant editor. Now there's a few more things we need to do for our text field before we go on to code it. The first thing we can do is simply change how it looks. Now we have a numerous amount of options within the attributes inspector here. We can change the default color of the text within it. We can even add a placeholder text. So, for example, if you was creating a contact form and you're using all these text fields as kind of the information our user has to put in, you can simply say like name goes in here, and it has like the faded text within the text field. So when your user sees it, they basically know what information they need to place within it. So let's get rid of that for now. We can also change the border styles and stuff like that. And the most important thing we need to look at is these options here. Now we can add and change how the keyboard is being interacted with, such as we can capitalization all the letters, we can do words, sentences, or even all characters. We can do correction. You can even choose to have yes or no, like autocorrect. And we've got spell checking, again, so we can simply change how it interacts when we add our information in. Now the important one is we want to make sure that we have a keyboard within it. So by default you get the automatically numbers and letters keyboard, but you can change it up. For example, if it's like an email field, you can add email address, which gives us like the @ symbol at the bottom, or .com or .co.uk. We have a number pad, which will bring up a kind of like a phone pad. So you can change how the keyboard loads up and interacts with our text field. So we'll keep it default. We change the appearance as well from being light to dark. We'll keep it default again there. But the main thing is the return key. We want to make sure that this has a done button on it, so I'm going to select done. So when the keyboard loads up, we'll have a nice done button that we can press, and then that will trigger our action that we're going to set to it. So now we're going to jump into our view controller.swift. Now from our previous lecture, we had the ability to preset our label 2 with text within the view.did_load. What we're going to do this time is just get rid of that because we want to use that second label for our text field. So before we add the code in, we're going to go to build and run to see exactly how it looks and how we interact with the text field on our device here or our simulator. Okay, so what we need to do is go down to our text field, select it, and that brings up our keyboard. I'll just move the control out, the remote out of the way. So from here we can add in our own text, as you see there. And there's not much we can do to it. But what you can see at the bottom now is we have our done button. And we press done, and it simply goes back to our application, but all it does is simply has our text within our text field. So we're now going to add our code in to when we press our done button, it's going to take that text we entered and then place it within our second label, which is going to be pretty fun. So back within Xcode, we're going to space out our function button here. And then what we simply need to do is, much like how we've done before, we're going to get our label2.text, like we've all done before, and how we can get strings to add in. And instead of equaling a string, what we're going to do is equal our text field, which we called our text field outlet.text. So it's getting the text attribute of our second label and equaling it to the text attribute of our text field, which is going to take the text from the text field and then display it within the second label. So it's a pretty smart way to do and very simple. We're just equaling one attribute to the other. So again, if we go to build and run, you'll see this time when it loads up, we go down to our keyboard here, or text field, bring up our keyboard. Let's place in a load of A's. I'll go down right to the bottom, press done, and by pressing that, not only does it dismiss the keyboard and takes us back to our application, but again it's triggered to get our labels attribute and equal text attributes and equal it to our text field's text attribute. So it's taking the information there and display it within the label. So this kind of opens up a lot of possibilities and how users can import and add in their own information into the application, and then how you can take it and then distribute it through all the different outlets or even through the different sections of your application, and how you can use it within your app. So it's a great way to take their content in your application, show it to them, and just give them a real sense of their maybe personalizing the application, such as adding their name, and you can create like a welcome and then their name within the application, or a way of they feel like they're contributing to the app again. So it kind of gives your applications more functionality by allowing your users to contribute to what the application can do. So in the next lecture, we can talk about the different text properties we can adjust within our text and how we can change it and display it within the application.